Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another Friday session where we have a nice juicy topic on tap for you today. We actually talked about this topic, I want to say last February or March. I know Jill kind of brought it up. We usually have these little brainstorming sessions in the office, and we talk about what would be a possible good user group topic. And there's a huge whiteboard outside my office, and it's actually on there. It says leave payout utility. And Jill tells me about that, and I go, the what? I had never heard of the leave payout utility. I've never seen it. I've never used it. Until she sent me the documentation a couple of days ago, I had no idea what this thing even did. But for everybody's reference, if you look in the chat window, we did post a copy of the leave payout utility document that Jill put together. That's out there. If you are watching this on YouTube, the link for it is going to be down in the comments below, so feel free to go ahead and download it from there. It is a good follow along. Jill is going to go through all of the setup for the leave payout utility for you today, and you'll get to be able to see how interesting this thing is and how you can go ahead and kind of streamline what's happening here. So without that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our co-host Jill. Jill, go ahead and get started here, and it's all you, girl.
Hi, everybody. So happy Friday morning, right? Okay, so yeah, like Mike said, I'm going to go through this. If you have questions while we're going through this, you can either speak up, go ahead and put them in the chat. These guys will be monitoring the chat and will answer what they can or ask when we can. So feel free to, kind of raise your hand and let us know you have a question. So the leave payout utility actually is kind of a slick little deal. It allows you to pay out your employees at specific rates, at their rate, at flat fees or whatever. And the system will create the supplemental to pay the employees, and it will create the transaction in their leave plan. So it does it all at once, kind of that auto magic world when we generate and process the records. It does work quite well. You can set lots of parameters. So as we're going to go through this, feel free to stop me to ask questions. Now, what the leave payout utility needs, first and foremost, it's going to create supplemental positions. So therefore, we have to put together the supplemental template. So the first thing we have to do is, since we need to create a template, we have to give it a description. So I'm in positions, master positions, descriptions. This is where all your descriptions are for all your positions you have in your system. Well, we need a template. So we're going to add it, and we're going to call this vacation payout. And maybe I want another one. Oh, I did already have that one. Okay. Let's do earned paid sick leave payout. Obviously, you can only have one named position at a time. Oh my goodness, I must have already put them in. So I have a leave payout right here. And I have EPSL, and I have a vacation payout. So you just add it, and it becomes, we have a lot in here. That's all you're doing, is adding it so you can use it for your supplemental position. It's all you need to do. You can have as many as you want. You can call it just leave payout, and it encompasses everything, but it also allows you the ability, when you're in positions and pay, to search by that description. So if you wanted to separate sick leave payout versus vacation payout versus a combination, you can do that. You can have as many as you want. The next thing we have to do is create the template. So we're going to go into positions and pay, and we're going to create a supplemental template. For supplemental, we need to have the name. Well, we're going to call this our vacation payout. Pay type, this is real important. It has to be a template. So it's a supplemental template. And then we need to have a DAC. For the sake of doing this, I'm going to select the business service. There's other options as we get down the road. You can make this whatever DAC you want it to be. That is the only information that's needed on this first tab. You go to the pay tab. The pay basis needs to be salary. Your hours per day need to be set to 1. It does need to have a calendar, so I'm just going to select my 12-month calendar. Now for the position dates and the period dates, you do need to select something. You want to have it as one starting and ending date. Typically what I recommend would be the starting and ending date within the pay period that you want to pay this out. And you can always come modify it for the next time I'm doing vacation payout. But for the sake of this, we're going to put it into October. Let me go here. We'll put it for October 1st. Ending date is also going to be October 1st. Keep these dates the same. You want it to pay out 1 on 1 pay period. And then go in and select your pay periods that you're paying it out. I'm going to select pay period 8. Okay, that's it. Except you have to go to your state data. Remember, we all like to forget this field, and I actually made myself a note because I forget this all the time. But you do have to fill out your state data. Once you have that information done, you've created your template. Now you can have more than one. I have actually created a couple. So we have a leave payout. I now have 2 vacation templates for payout. EPSL, earned paid sick leave. So you can have multiple leave payouts. You will see these come into play when we go to create our report. So we are now set. We have our positions and pay template created, and we've created our description. So at this point, now we need to go and build the report. You're going to go into leave plans, leave payout utility. So this screen, pretty simple. There's not a whole lot in here. Where we will be setting up the report, setting up the leave plan report, and then we'll process the records through the rest of these. So first, we're going to go into leave plans, leave payout, and do our report setup. So the report setup needs to use one of those templates we've just created. When you hit the drop down, it shows you your templates. I'm going to choose a vacation template. Use DAC from the template. If you have this button selected, it will always use the DAC that you put on that template. If you don't have it selected, it will use the DACs from the employee's primary position. So I'm going to uncheck it and let it come in and use the DAC from the employee's primary position. You say, okay, that's the first part. Now, we're going to go to actions, do the leave plan setup. Here is where you say what leave plans we want identified for use with this report. I currently have 2 in here. We're just going to set up a different one. So right click and add. You need to tell it what leave plan this report is going to use. So I'm going to use my vacation. Account mask. Whatever the district is comfortable. You can either put a mask in, as you see the 2 above. I put in the vacation one with a mask. As you all know, that'll follow the funding lines on all those positions, the primary position that is ranked primary, and it'll only change the object code to be the 6280 versus up here, I want them all to be paid out of that specific code. Whatever you want to set that to. For the sake of making it easier, I'm going to go ahead and give it a hard code to. Now, sorry, my screen is little. Sometimes I got to go a little closer. I can leave the question marks there. I'm going to use that mask. Payout rate. So the payout rate is how you
Bill,
want. Yep.
You have a typo in your object code. I don't know if that's going to screw it up.
And 100. Oh, you're right. I do. It will. It absolutely will. That's better. Okay. Payout rate. This is the rate of the employee's primary position that you want to pay out the leave. Districts have different policies on this. It could be a flat rate that once you leave for vacation, you're going to get $20 an hour. If that's the case, I'm going to put in here 20. Or it could be a percentage of your rate. I want to give everybody, when they get paid out, they get it at 50% their pay rate. Then you would put the percentage in here. If you want them to be paid out dollar for dollar, you'd put a 1.0. So it might take you thinking this through a little bit. A lot of districts do a vacation payout at 1.0, but maybe you do your sick leave payout at a flat fee, $14 an hour. You can put that in here. Or a percentage of their pay, 75% of their rate, their regular wage, whatever. It can be changed. You can come in here, you can do it, you can blow it off and do it again. It's whatever you want. We're going to go with 1 for 1 at this point. Eligible balance. How much leave are you going to pay them off? If there's a marking, let's say I want to do only everybody who has over 100 hours. We're going to pay out the over 100 hours. Maybe the district doesn't want to carry them forward. This is what they do. You would put in here 100, and everybody that had vacation of 101 or more would come up on our report. If you set it to 0, everybody that meets the criteria of having vacation, being active, it will come up on the report. So that's where we'll set it. But remember, this is eligible balance. So it's beyond this point. If they are allowed to roll over 40 and you want to pay out anything over 40, then you'd put that to 40. Because I already have it there. I already have a vacation. So we'll use the one I have. So I have the vacation, but I've decided I want to hard code this in. I'm going to leave it at 1 and a 0 on the payout. These are my reports that I currently have set up, and I can go in and change them whenever I want. I have the sick leave that's going to pay out at $14 an hour. Whenever I want, I can go in and make these changes. Click OK. Now you're done. You're ready to generate your records. However, before you generate your records, there's a piece that we need to talk about called the primary rate. When the system wants to, using the leave plan utility, it needs to look at the ranking of a person's position. No, I want to bring up all positions. Needs to look at the field called rank on a position. Now you see here, Crystal Ball has 2 positions. One of them is marked as primary. That's the position it's going to use. When you've been in your positions and pay, a lot of times you don't even realize what this field is for, because working in payroll, it doesn't do anything for you. Right here. Primary, secondary, and other. This field is used for your leave payout utility. If I rank this as a primary, and her other position is ranked as a primary, she will have a problem because it won't come in correctly. It'll come in and say, hey, she has 2 primary positions. I don't know which one to use, so you have to manually do that record. So what I'm going to do for, I'm going to take Candy Bar. She only has 1 position, and her position is labeled as primary. I'm going to remove her ranking as primary.
Jill,
Yes.
does this also tie into the pay options tab with your primary and secondary?
No,
Okay.
it does not. So I'm going to change her and remove her from primary. She only has 1 position, as we can see on here. And I do know she has vacation, so She's just not labeled as primary, where some of these others are. We're going to leave here. I'm going to clear it just because I've had stuff filtered. We're going to go back into our leave payout utility. So now I'm ready to generate my records. Remember that primary piece is going to play into this here. Actions, generate records. Pick whichever report we're doing. We're going to do the vacation, and you can't repeat a report name. There was already a September 2020 in there, so I'm going to call it abbreviate September 2020. So you select the report you want. You've already set it up when you went into actions. You selected the template, and you already said what I wanted to do for this vacation payout. I'm going to hit OK. It's going to fill my screen with everybody who meets the criteria that I asked for. They had to have vacation. And since my hours were set to 0, they had to have any balance of vacation. Now here you see that the balance and the available for payout match because I didn't have a marker. I said 0. Everybody who has vacation, bring them in. A couple of things to look at this screen. Look at Candy Bar, multiple or no primary position. I removed her status of primary. Because I did that, I have to manually go in and set her record. These guys down here, they don't have primaries. Some do, some don't. Anybody that doesn't will not process. You also sometimes will see a star before one of these. I don't see any with a star. The first time the system sees that account code, it will come in with a star. If I have a masking on, that's where you're likely going to see it. Right now, I've told this report hard-coded in, I want to use this account code. Because I said I wanted to use this account code, you notice everybody that had primary on their position has now come in with that account code and ready to pay. Those that didn't, I would have to open up their record, and I've got to fill out this information. So before we do that, I want to show you your other options. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to go back into my leave setup, back into my vacation, and I'm now going to replace this with question mark logic. So I've now put a mask that I want to follow their funding, and I want to pay everybody out that has greater than 75 hours. There's my masking. It's telling me it's still going to do 1 for 1, but the eligible balance has to be 75. I'm going to go back in to positions and pay really quick, and we're going to give Candy Bar her ranking. Going into her primary position. And changing her rank to primary. So now we're back at the leave payout screen. Generate my records, use vacation. Now my list is going to be shorter. Notice how it's definitely shorter. This is the current balance they have. I put a mark at 75. This is what's available for payout. It does the math. You'll also notice now all the funding codes can be different. I have people now that have a star. That star means that this account code, because I was using a mask, has not been used on this report again or yet. You'll also notice that Nathan's in here twice. Well, he has a split funded position. We're going to go he does have 94 hours. 19 is eligible for payout, but it's going to pay out based on his funding lines. I said it was a 1 for 1. Well, since he's a split funded, it grabbed that information from his position, and it's going to pay him out accordingly, which you want that to do. Here's somebody with a star. Again, that's a new code. There's a couple of them. First thing you do when you bring them in is you add those missing accounts. Anybody with a star is a missing account that has not been on this report before. When you're using a mask, you will probably always have it at some point or another because they weren't eligible every single time you've created a report. You hit add the missing. There were 2 stars on my screen. It added it and it took away their stars. Now the only thing left for me to deal with is anybody who has multiple or no primary position. This person, it doesn't know where it's supposed to fund it from. I'm using a mask, so I either have to go back to their position and set them to primary, or I'm going to move on and deal with them later. Totally can do that. I can go up to here to actions, select my records for processing. It will not select anybody that is not ready. So all these multiples, you notice they're not selected. It's not going to process their leave payout because I haven't completed them. I could open them up and change them. So if I wanted to open up this one, got to give them a DAC now. I'm going to go with business services. Now I have to give them a code. This is the interesting thing. This is the only place in Visions you have to use your decimals. Go figure. I don't know why. You don't have to use them anywhere else. I'm not going to change the available because it's got the correct rates. This is how many hours they had, 120. I said do everything over 75. So it wants to do 45. That's right. Their hourly rate, it's pulling in from their position. I have to add the percentage because it can't give it a percentage when I didn't pull it in from the position. And then I'm going to check it off to process. You have to put a comment. It requires you to put a comment if you open it. Then when you say, okay, I changed it to process and now it has a comment. It says it was edited. That comment field is viewable over here on your grid. Right there. You can move it. Obviously, it's just like any other grid. You can move this around. You can do whatever you want, but your comment field is visible. So now that one is ready to process. I'm not going to bother with the rest of these guys. You can remove them. You can leave them. He's not being processed. I can actually highlight it and hit the delete and it'll go away. These are still ready to process. So I'm comfortable. I've looked at their payout rates. I agree. I agree with what it is. I like that it's split funding. So I don't have to do the split funding on this position here. That's going to make it better. I've added my missing accounts. You don't have any stars hanging out here. I edited who I thought I wanted to edit. So now my records are selected for processing. I'm going to go into actions, create my records, and update my leave balance. Comes and says, what date? If this looks very familiar, it's your leave information. Where do you want this leave information given as a to from granted? So I am fine with these dates, September 25th. You can change it based on a calendar. I could say I want to move it to a different time frame. This is what's going to show up on their used transactions in their leave. So I'm going to hit OK. Tells me what it did. Those have now been marked as process. You can't unpost them because now they're going in. And it created 10 supplementals and the leave balances for the 10 records. You say yes. It's going through and processing my leave. And this will do it for one person. It'll do it for 50 people. It'll do it for however many. You can choose who to select and process it for. I'm going to say OK. Now my screen has processed and posted. These guys down here did not. Okay, we'll even look at Bill Gates. From here, I want to go back and it is done. We're going to go back here. Call up my description of vacation. There's everybody that's going to be processed. If we go into this supplemental, remember he was a split fund. The only thing it doesn't do, you do have to come over here, is we have to generate our records. You see, he's split fund because he was split funded. So it is split funding his position. When you create the position, the leave utility creates it and updates your transactions over on your leave transaction, but it needs you to come over here and mass generate your positions, which is why you want to have your description here. You put in your description and you mass generate. Oh, I only have it on one. Sorry, my bad. You do have to generate the records. It's the only thing you have to come over here and do, because that makes them ready to pay. And we know we paid these out of pay period 8. So I'm going to just highlight any one of these, and I'll take you to his pay journal. We did this on pay period 8. There it's going to show up. So it's ready. It's going to pay him. I can generate my taxes and everything, and he'll be paid out. So it created it on a future pay period, because that's what I told it to do. I said, go do this on pay period 8. I can see it at any given time. So now let's go back into their leave plans. And we'll pull up just our vacation people. I have a few of them in here. So we know she had, I didn't do her on this buyout. I did her on the last one. So we're not going to count her. Candy Bar did though. So remember I said anybody that had over 75. Well, she did. And if you go down to her most recent, here's her leave buyout. It paid her 45. And now her balance is at 75. So everybody here that has a balance of 75 are the people I paid out. So if we open another one of these, they started with 110. They've been paid out. Go to the bottom. It marks it as a leave payout, gives the date, and she's getting paid out on 45, and her available balance is 75. So that is how your leave payout utility works. Anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns? You want to see anything else? I can bring up some other screens. How are we doing? Crickets.
So I think we're doing good so far. We had some late joiners that needed the leave payout document, so I just added it into the chat again. So if you have not downloaded it, everything that Jill kind of went through is documented. Put that together. So I think it's like a 7-page document. It's pretty informative. So hopefully everyone gets a lot of that. We'll also have this video up on YouTube, hopefully by Monday. So if you have other things that you know, if you want to go back and sort of refresh, I know it's a lot of information, and the setup for it, to me, seems very complicated for a lot of stuff you're doing, but it really does streamline a lot of the processes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Once you've gone through and done your setup of a report, you can reuse that same report over and over. You can pay out, if you do your leave plan like you want to pay out something every quarter, you can use the exact same setup that you put in there and just modify the information for each quarter that you're working on. I can go in here and see my reports, and there they are. And you can open them, you can change them, you can increase and decrease the amount, you can hard code the pay rate. It was doing the initial setup, creating the template, and creating the reports. And you can have as many reports out there as you want using whatever leave plans you want.
All right, Jill. So we have a question coming in. The question asks, maybe a different session, but what template does leave approval process to get to this point? I think that's an entirely separate thing. That maybe it had to do with the leave approval process out of the ESS portal, I'm assuming.
Right, because this doesn't go through a leave approval. This is for payroll to pay them out.
Yeah, there's still a lot that we can cover on leave plans, but this was one of those things that I had never heard of. I think is a pretty unique utility within Infinite Visions. So we wanted to make sure that we gave it enough time to cover it. So we kind of had to bump some of the other leave plan stuff we kind of wanted to cover. We will do another session on leave plans, I promise you. We have tentative topics for next week already in line. Things like SDER. I know we had one on fixed assets has been kind of on the back burner we wanted to do, but we will cover it again. Another question coming in, can this be set up to pay employees at their base rate of pay? There may be different rates of pay. So are you talking about if an employee has maybe multiple positions?
If it's
that we have a payout for employees that they're already at their maximum, and when we roll over hours, they get a payout, and they're based on their regular position, on their primary position. They may be at like different positions have a different starting rate of pay. So if I'm paying them at those rate, at their initial rate of pay, or at the base rate for this fiscal year, but they're different positions, so they have different rates of pay for different positions.
So yes, what it'll look at two things. When you're in positions and pay, so let me call up a person that I know has multiple positions. I think Candy. No, the other one. Let's see. Because it will take somebody with a multiple position.
I'm not talking about somebody having multiple positions, but I'm talking about multiple positions themselves. Like I'm at one position, so my base rate of pay would be different than
Correct.
Secretary.
And mine, correct.
And yours,
so what this
like
looks,
that.
Yes, it pays it out on, and that's exactly how we had it set up. On the utility, when you create your report, and I did the setup here, okay, vacation. This box here at the payout rate looks at their position that has marked as the primary position and pays out the rate of that position. So by putting primary on the ranking in your positions and pay, it will pay you out at your rate. It'll pay me out at my rate. And if you look at these people back here on my screen.
Except like we don't pay them out at their current rate of pay, but at the base rate of pay for that position. So if I'm being paid right now, let's say I'm getting paid $15 an hour, but the base rate of pay for my position is 12. That's the rate of pay that I'm going to get my leave payout, not at my current rate of pay. And the same goes for other positions. So their actual rate of pay is not what they're going to get paid, but it's going to be.
Right, you have a flat rate. Right, but it's multiple flat rates.
Right.
You could have, right. So you would have to edit that because the system doesn't know those multiple flat rates. So when you brought everybody in here to the grid, so let me bring in a new group to the grid, okay?
Okay.
I'm gonna change my vacation setup and I'm gonna drop it back to 0. So it brings in more people. Now I'm gonna create and generate new records, vacation, and this is multi-rate. Now it's going to fill my grid with everybody. These are their payout rates. This column right here is their position rate. I don't know what additional information you need to see from this grid, but it does have, let's scroll over here. I don't think I have, let me move this. So. Okay, I do have their position description, and maybe that's something that would ultimately help you for this, in this scenario, okay? There's their position, and this is their current rate. So if I'm understanding you, so Candy's a director of food service, even though this is her pay rate, she's gonna get paid out a flat $25. I open up her record and I just change it to $25.
Oh, okay.
Now, when I click OK, comments can't be blank. It's going to recalculate her and say her payout rate is 25. She has 75 hours. This is what it'll pay her out.
I
If
see. So we can individually customize each person.
Absolutely. So now I'm going to change her to $20. Oh. Change her again. And you see it changed her again.
Okay.
So yes, you can totally, and you can mass update. That is a mass update. I can say, I want everybody with a specific funding code, something that, I mean, I can do the whole grid. I can say everybody on this grid is going to be paid out at $15 an hour.
Oh, so I can filter.
You sure
Filter
can.
by position, and then I say all the food service people, their base rate is
Yep.
13 bucks an hour. So then just do them and then
Yes.
filter again until, okay.
Yes. And because you have, if you have their positions in positions and pay, and you have on that first tab, rank, primary, all of this information, their position description and their DAC will come in, and yeah, you can totally filter and say, okay, everybody in maintenance, they're going to get this rate. You can mass update, you can open up and do each individually. You can even change the payout amount.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
this actually speaks to another question that came in. Someone had asked, how can we use this utility if there is a way to pay out a certain amount of hours only? For example, pay all employees selected only 80 hours.
No, the way that your hour works when you set it up is the balance. It doesn't say pay 80
Right,
and no
but
more.
you can go into the grid records, and you can
Yes.
edit the amount that's eligible for payout, and that is also a mass update option in there. So say,
Yes.
for example, let's take a look at Bill Gates. He has a balance of 130 hours available for payout. You could go into that record and change that to 80 hours, and that meets your requirements. So if you had a number of people that, hey, we're just going to pay out 2 weeks worth of vacation time, you can go in here, and anybody that's over 80, you just change them to a flat 80. You can use the mass update, and you go record by record, but that would satisfy that requirement if you just want to pay out a maximum of 80 hours or whatever amount of hours.
Correct. And I just changed him. So his balance is 130, but I changed his payout rate to 80. I fixed him to here, and now I have to regenerate for him his money to come together. Remember, he came in, we picked one that had no primary, and because he had no primary, you have to edit everything. I have to go through and edit. Forgot his funding line. Now here's what he'll get paid out, $1,200. He'll get 80 hours at 15. So yes, initially you can't tell the report to only do the 80, but here you can see their balance and change what they're being paid out. Yes. And it works great for, if you got to pay out sick leave at a specific spot, they're not allowed to carry over. Mm-hmm.
So I had another question come in on email, just sort of a general question. They did not get the original invitation for the mini session today. So I just wanted to stress, sign up for the EASE mailing list. If you did not get the email, I think it went out last Monday. If you did not get the email regarding this meeting, make sure you sign up to that EASE mailing list. The link is in the chat. So it is an opt-in thing. So I just can't go in there and just add a whole bunch of people. So just make sure that you're signed up so you're getting these notifications. We will continue to kind of do these even after we come back into office. We will continue to do kind of recording sessions like this that makes it convenient for everyone to kind of get these little mini topics out of the way. So thanks for bringing that up. Thanks for reminding me. I put the link for that mailing list sign up in the chat. So go ahead and check that out.
Well, folks, if you do decide, you get the handout, and it is pretty well detailed. You should be able to address it. Remember looking at here, if they come in with no primary, you know where to set it. It'll make them come in easier. So future going down the road, if you are going to use this, when you're entering that in positions and pay, always give them a primary position. Always mark that ranking of primary on that info tab on the first tab. And when you go to do this, it will come a lot smoother. And you can delete people off here. If I decide, you know, this is just playing with a grid. Candy bar, you're out. I'm taking you away. You're not getting anything. I can remove those. I can modify all of their information. So there you go.
Hey Jill, one last question on the last thing you mentioned about giving everybody the primary on the rank.
Yes.
Can that be a mass update?
Well,
I think it is in
I
positions
think
a
it
day.
is too. I think it is too, but we'll look. So let's see.
Thank you.
Mass update. It is called rank. Yep. It will. I mean, she's got a whole bunch of positions here. I didn't do just her. Filter your grid to who you need. And yes, it is a mass update.
All right. Thank you so much.
So I would filter on like positions and open positions, and then watch your
supplementals and just leave the positions and then give those all a rank.
correct. If somebody has two positions for it, will give both of them, and you'll have to go in and make sure you select one as primary.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. And you saw it worked for split funding. It does the funding split itself. So for all of you that have that split funding, it will grab that when it pays it out. If you're using a mask, if you're using a set flatline fund, I want everything to go to 001-6280. It doesn't need to split it up. It will just put all of it on one line.
Mike?
Yes.
There's a question about the URL for the YouTube channel for them to subscribe to. Will you include that again when you send out the recording of this?
Yeah, when I send out, if you're on the mailing list, I'll send out the recording. It'll have the link to the video in the email, and it will likely go out Monday morning. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. It's just under Mike Martinez right now. I'm trying to find the URL. I'm pretty new at running a YouTube channel, so maybe I'll ask my daughter and see how she does it. She's infinitely better at it than I am, so I am still sort of working on it. But yeah, just subscribe on there. We'll throw some more videos. They may not all be mini sessions. We may post additional videos that I kind of have in the back of my mind, and we'll put those out there as soon as those become available. But make sure you are subscribed to that channel. Make sure you are subscribed to the mailing list. Jill, great job today. Really cool utility. I think it was very well explained. We had a lot of examples, good questions coming in. So thanks everybody for joining into
Thank you.
The actual Zoom meeting. Having the questions and having that interaction really kind of makes the session really work for us. And that's one thing that came out when we had the HR session last week. We're like, that was the best session ever because we had so many questions and there was so much interaction. And it really made it feel more like a user group meeting than a webinar. So we appreciate you jumping on here this morning. We hope you'll join us. There's another session this afternoon for going over email alerts and file exports out of Infinite Visions that I'll be doing. Warning, there will be some nerd stuff in there. So just fair warning for you, if you're gonna join in, you're probably gonna get a little bit more than you bargained for. If you are a nerd at heart, then you'll love it. if you're looking at email alerts. And the cool thing about the afternoon session is it was brought on because of somebody's question last week. We're like, okay, well, let's go back and cover email alerts and just make sure everyone's on the same page. So thank you everybody for joining us today. Hope to see you later. Everyone have a great weekend. Be safe out there, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks.